Whether our conscious brain sees them or not, advertisements have had a huge impact on the kind of products we buy, services we seek out, and life that we desire. They come in all types of forms, are portrayed on different channels, and have varying goals in mind for their target audience. Organizations seek to share information through engaging our senses, with advertisers most commonly appealing to our sense of sight and hearing. The way we're exposed to advertising is based on a larger societal innovation. As new technology emerges, so do new mediums for advertisements. Ads have been around for centuries and have adapted to innovations throughout time, and in order to understand them now, we must rewind to the start. Let's take it back to pre-technology. Advertising was as basic as vocalizing the product or service being sold. As humankind progressed, so did the mediums for communicating messages. The first signs of physical advertising are said to be as early as 4000 BCE in ancient Egypt, where the Egyptians used papyrus to make messages and posters. In other parts of the world, China, for example, show the first sign of advertising as bamboo flutes used to entice customers. In Europe, advertisements began as pictures on signs, as the general population was unable to read. They also relied on town criers to make announcements in general news. The early years of advertising were dependent on the capabilities of different societies around the globe. As innovation occurred, from the first use of tools onwards, people learned to utilize innovations to better advertise. Fast forward to the 15th century, when modern advertising began to shape the world we see today. The invention of the printing press in 1450 gave us the first ever print ad. With this came the great channel advertisers, the newspaper. With the invention of the print press, reading became a much wider spread skill and opened the door for advertisements in books, trading cards, and even billboards, which we still see today. This technological innovation changed the way society could advertise. Soon came to life is the concept of advertising agencies, which started as placeholders for print advertisements, but soon advertising agencies became responsible for actually creating content for businesses and individuals. In the early 1900s also came radio broadcasting due to other technological innovation in society. Although it brought controversy, and some perceived the advertisers as profit-hungry opportunists, by the late 1920s, radio advertisements were widespread. Next came TV advertising in the 1940s, a new medium that really brought advertising to life in a way that people had never seen before. The idea of sponsored programs came to life as companies could indirectly or directly feature their products in thousands of living rooms simultaneously. We can see that as society innovated through the printing press, radio, and television, advertising adapted to take advantage of these new technologies. Advertisers were effectively able to appeal to sight and hearing quite easily, but as society advanced further, advertisers had to keep up. By the late 1990s, advertisements began to digitize. Banner ads became the first of their kind hitting desktops at home. With technology rapidly improving, the psychology of advertising moved with it. This led to the start of targeted ad placement, where companies could reach their target audience now more than they ever could before. As the 21st century progressed, digital advertising became even more familiar to individuals through sites like Google, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As more of an individual's data is collected, advertisements have become even more targeted and personalized than they were before. As these technologies advance, and as the everyday person learns more about common advertising strategies, there may be resistance from the public who feel exploited by advertisers. Notice how the public accepts advertisements in certain situations but not others. For example, we see excitement around Super Bowl advertisements, but we also see disdain for other advertisements as illustrated by the popularity of ad blockers. This brings us to a question everyone in business needs to think about. How can advertising change to engage customers while balancing concerns of intrusiveness and dehumanization? What's next for advertisements? As we see the future of tech continue to move towards artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality, there is no doubt that advertisements will find their way into these tech advancements. Imagine being able to interact with the product before ever purchasing it in real life, furthering the integration of physical touch and sense with advertisements. As companies gather more data on their consumers and their wants and needs, they will continue to use this information to persuade, inform, and remind their audience of their products. How they choose to do this will ultimately determine the success of their business. Let us know what you think. Whether our conscious brain sees them or not,